Today's learning resource is brought to you by three partners: Youth Enterprise Development Fund, KCA University, and the University of Nottingham, under the co-production for Youth Entrepreneurship in Kenya, COPEC project, supported by the British Council.
Hello and welcome. My name is Maurice Moremi. I work for the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Our topic for discussion today is business idea generation. And just as we start, many people want to start their own businesses. They actually want to run their own successful businesses. Some of them have finished their, education. They have been looking for jobs. They have not been able to succeed in getting the kind of jobs that they have studied for. And they are looking for a way they can earn a living. And unfortunately, they are not able to find a way out. And therefore, they start thinking on how they can start their own enterprise. But now the challenge comes. Where or what kind of business do I start? And that has become a big problem and a challenge for so many young people, especially in our country, Kenya. So I'm here today to just unpack this idea on how somebody can be able to, start an enterprise of their own and grow it so that they can be able to earn a living, even as they look for a job or as they wait for other openings to come up. But first of all, what is a business idea? When we talk of a business idea, what exactly do we mean? A business idea is basically a thought or a concept that can be progressively converted into a business. And what I want us to discuss this moment is just some of the sources of business ideas that we can begin to look at, even as we begin to look at the bigger picture on how we can start our own enterprise. So what are some of these common sources of business ideas? Number one, I know some of these sources are so common and so familiar to us, but I want us to reflect on them today. One is people's problems and people's needs. In fact, this is one of the most common sources of business ideas. When you look around, what are some of the problems that are affecting people? What are some of the needs that people need solved? If you come in and offer a solution, that begins to form the idea that you can actually expand and convert into a business. So I want to challenge you, just look around your community. What are some of these ideas? What are some of these problems, rather? Some of these needs that the people are complaining about? Look around. Do you think you can come up with solutions for those problems? Because that is where you can be able to pull a business idea from. The next one, there are certain people that are born, and actually all of us are born with certain innate abilities, capabilities, talents, gifts. Sometimes they are hobbies, things that we do, in our own leisure time, in our own free time. I want to challenge you to begin to think at those innate capabilities and abilities that you have, the talents that you are born with. All of us are born with certain unique abilities. I would want to challenge you to start looking closely at some of those gifts, the talents that you've been born with, because therein lies a business idea. And I could give you examples of people around our community, especially here in our country, Kenya, people that have been able to identify the gifts, the talents that they are born with, and they have actually gone ahead to nurture those gifts and commercialize them and convert them into thriving businesses as we speak. Look at some of the talents, the people that have been gifted in singing. We have seen some of them nurture their gifts in singing, and they have now become very serious business persons in our community. Look at the people that are talented, for example, in running, in comedy, and all those other gifts that you can look around. There are people that have built business empires singularly around their innate capabilities and gifts that they are born with. You also have a gift that you can begin to explore and possibly convert into a business idea. There's a third source of business idea that I would want us to look at. And when you look around, there are so many businesses that people have started. In fact, everywhere you go, you find that's a new business that has come up, that's another business that has come up. Sometimes you do not need to reinvent the wheel. All that you need to do is go look around and see what other people are doing and see how you can be able to improve on whatever they are doing. What new thing can you introduce? What innovation can you introduce in whatever is already existing, so that then you can be able to pull out your own idea out of it? That is another source of business idea. The other source of business idea I would want us to consider is something that we call brainstorming. And brainstorming, simply put, is the process of thinking and coming up with different options and then considering each option on merit. And it works very well, especially when you're in a group, people that, that you'd want to bring together so that you can think around an idea of a business that you can be able to start. Your friends can help you. You can bring them together and put a question to them. What business do you think I can do? And together begin to raise ideas and thoughts and concepts. And thereafter, you then go and sift them through them and get the best out of the options. Of course, there are so many other things that we can consider when we are trying to establish the kind of business that we would want to start. And I want to give you another one that I find quite fascinating as well. And this is research. Research, or basically, you can even look for an expert, or you can do it yourself. Go around and collect data that you think you can use. Go around and collect data that you think you can use to make a decision on the kind of business that you can establish in whatever community. There are so many sources of business ideas. I have also seen people converting waste, things that people throw out, into businesses. In fact, quite literally, I have seen people who actually went and started the business of collecting garbage, from the houses, from people in the estates, and it has become quite lucrative for them. So don't sit around. Consider all these sources of business ideas and identify the kind of idea that you can nurture into a business, an enterprise that can serve as a self-employment vehicle for you. But there's something else I also want us to quickly look at. Before you jump and start that business on the idea that you've come up with, there is a very critical stage that you need to take that idea through, and that is the screening of that idea. And simply put, when we talk of screening, what we mean is don't begin or don't implement the first idea that you very excitedly come up with. You need to first of all sit down and ask yourself quite a number of questions on whether this is actually the right kind of business for you to start. And these are some of the things that I would want to share with you on how you can be able to screen that thought or that concept that you've come up with through the various methods that we've discussed. One of the ways that you need to look at is, how much capital do I need to implement this idea? Sometimes you may come up with a very grand idea or concept, but then when you sit down to look at the capital that is required, it is too huge. You may not have that capital as yet. Ask yourself, is it possible for me to start small on this, implementing this idea? Is it implementable in a small way first, then grow gradually? If it can, then well and good. If it can't, perhaps you need to look at another idea that you can actually implement in a small way and gradually grow. The second thing that you need to look at is the market size. And this will become clearer to you, especially if you do a survey, a market survey, just a small research around the market size that you are entering into. Ask yourself, who are the other people that are doing this? where I want to set up my business. Who are my competitors? Look around. Who are the people doing the same kind of business? And thereafter, ask yourself, what am I going to do differently? And this is what we call the competitive advantage. What is going to make mine different from the others? That is going to be a winning point for you once you are able to identify that. There is something else that people ignore also, which I think is very critical when you are screening that idea that you have, that thought that you have. Is it legal? The idea might be good. The possibility of getting you good returns is there. But ask yourself, is it legally accepted in our country? Because you don't want to find yourself on the wrong side of the law while you're implementing that idea, perhaps out of desperation. The other thing is scalability. Scalability is the ability to build and grow. Is that idea scalable? As I said earlier, can you start small and build it and continue growing it with time? If it is scalable, then that's a sign that it is actually a good idea to implement. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, what are the expected returns? The profit. How does the profit look like? Are you going to invest so much and get so little, even in the long term? Look at the possibility of returns. Do the returns speak to what you want? And if it does, then that is an idea that you can consider. In the next topic, we'll be looking at how then to build a business plan out of the concept or the thought that you have already identified. Thank you very much.